Test. Test.
Gotcha. No. Everyone's ready? Greg, you ready?
I think so. Rick, I'm trying to get on Air Media, but I'm not getting a oh, okay, I'm there. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. We'll call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, July 1st, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And next on number 3, roll call by Lisa.
Mark Bittner,
Here.
Shannon Derby. Here. Bill Leclerc.
Here.
Doug Brandt.
Here.
Tim Patry.
Here.
Bonnie Shimalunas. Here. Scott Steckmesser.
Here.
Adam Mahusky. Darla Leclerc. Here.
Thank you all for that. Adam is not here this evening. He's excused. He has some other things going on this evening. So we'll go on to number 4, consideration of any council member request to participate in this meeting from a remote location. Tonight we have Mark Bittner, who's on the phone with us and would like to join the meeting via phone. So I am looking for a motion to allow Mark to join. Thank you, Doug. Second by?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Bill. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Lisa?
Shannon Derby. Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Douglas Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Patry.
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas. Scott Steckmesser.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc. Aye. Mark, we don't.
Yep.
All
Okay.
in favor.
And Mark is officially with us. On to number 5, input from the public. If anyone would like to address the council, please step up to the podium on your left. Please state your name and address for the record, and you can address the council. Input from the public. Yes, sir.
I'm Andre Robitaille, 2313 Jefferson Street. Good evening, council members. Good evening, Mr. Buckley. I would like to talk about Riverside Park tonight. I am massively in favor of renovating the park, but I'm not sure if the things I'm saying here would have an impact on whether the master plan should be approved or not, but I think some of them are pretty significant. I couldn't locate a comprehensive plan for the park system. I can see the full plan and each individual park in the plan, but no real vision for how the parks all kind of fit together and what their purpose is amongst each other. A couple examples of that would be a survey respondent, I'm talking about the Riverside Park survey. The survey respondent asked for a pickleball court. We have one, Washington Park. A council member at the work session asked if there'd be a boat ramp. We have one across the river, right from where this would be at Veterans Park. So that would be one. I couldn't find a vision for this particular park. You know, kind of what are we trying to do with it? Are we trying to make it a great skate park? Make it a place to go for a walk around a pond that kind of smells bad sometimes? Make a neighborhood green space where, you know, in the neighborhood where houses don't really have a big yard to play in. So that kind of vision, I think, might be, it might provide a guidepost for what to do with the park. And that kind of gets to my next point. Much like Central West, and please bear with me, I know it's won awards, and that's cool. But much like Central West, I feel like we're packing it in a little bit too tight with the design, trying to do too much with too small of space. Every picture, for example, that you looked at in the master plan that Parkitecture handed out, every picture was 3 times as big a space as we have marked on the design for that. You look at the river walk next to the river, it's way bigger than that space is by, 8 times, 10 times. If you look at the pump track to go around the skateboard track, easily 3 times as big as the space that it would be. So I think, again, much like Central West, it's kind of like there's a lot of activities we're trying to jam into a little spot. the already cramped skate park that's there now shrunk by 20%. And then it adds a very, very, kind of small pump track around it, which is value, but like it is shrinking down that piece. It puts the skate park right next to the playground, which raises the chance of like parents letting their kids play or not paying attention, like younger kids run out. That is a challenge at skate parks of kids running out and getting knocked into. It puts a skate park right next to residential homes, far closer than it currently is. It's now separated by a berm and trees. This moves it right next to across the street from a handful of houses. And skate parks are loud. The skating itself, the crowds of kids, the music they're playing, people yelling to each other, like it's going to impact those residents in particular. The industrial buildings, the truck traffic, a house with junk in the yard, they don't really lead to feelings of safety, which is a major point if you read through all of the things that people said in those in that survey. So to sum up, I got another summary after this. What's the purpose of the park? Because I think it should have a stated purpose. In my opinion, make it a skating destination for kids in the region like what Sheboygan and Appleton have. I've already talked to a couple of skate kids, one from Manitowoc that comes here, and he said, Sheboygan and Appleton have the two best. Look at what they have. Sheboygan's is roughly the same size as the space we have available, so that might be an option. Make it a place for people to bring their young kids to play. And that means benches, bathrooms, a bigger playground area. That stuff's kind of in there to a degree. The multifunctional space, kind of an open field for soccer or football or whatever, is a good one. But what makes that work, and I'm kind of drawing on my experiences from Milwaukee neighborhoods, what makes that work is picnic tables, shade from trees, those kind of metal grills on a stand and that sort of stuff. Make it a place where people can go and do their thing, and then the families can kind of sit around almost like picnic or with chairs or whatever. The space is too small for a pavilion, but make enough space for people to hang out. Make it fit into the park system overall, but especially have it serve the neighborhood. And this means talking to people in that neighborhood, not a survey that included people from outside Two Rivers and at least one person from out of the state. Most importantly, what I'm asking the council to is, and this is my strongest point, engage the community actively and in a targeted way for that neighborhood. It's a small park. This isn't even Washington Park. This is a little neighborhood park. Make it really good for those people that are within walking distance. Talk to those adjacent properties. Survey the addresses within 5 blocks or so on the south side. They're the ones that need to use the park. No one is going to travel from other parts of town to use Riverside Park no matter what you do to it. It's just not that kind of park. So make it really good for that chunk of town. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Input from the public? Okay. Seeing nothing, on to council communications, letters and other communications from citizens. Anyone have anything? Oh, quiet week. I was at the car show this past weekend. Had my car in the show, and Main Street did a magnificent job. Main Street, Parks and Rec, Police Department, everyone that was involved with it did an amazing job. I had a lot of positive comments from people. A lot of people enjoyed walking up and down the street, seeing some of the shops open, and just, it was a wonderful atmosphere. So kudos to everyone that was part of that. Like I said, I talked to one lady that was here for the power plant shutdown. I think it's happening this summer, if not already. And she was just amazed at how much goes on in the summer. Usually the shutdown's not in the summer months. So she was just amazed, and she's planning on coming back many, many times. So it was a very nice weekend. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Anyone else?
I volunteered at Sunday, Thursday.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. It was good to see a lot of community members out and about doing that. And then I was volunteering at the car show on Saturday, and it was very hot.
It's very hot.
Not a fan. We're in the cool city.
Right, exactly.
But you did have a really cool car, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a nice event. Very nice event. Seeing nothing else. Number 7, council reports from boards, commissions, and committees. Anyone have something to report on tonight? Yes, Darla.
As far as Main Street goes, it was the car show.
And due to the threat of rain, Friday's car cruise, the attendance was down, but they did have nearly 400 cars participating, and it made for about a 20-minute parade of cars, which was about half of what we have in a typical year. And then for the car show itself on Saturday, you had really good weather. Like you said, it was really, really hot. It's better than rain though. And it drew 286 cars to the show. So, and thank you to all the departments that help out with this. We have the police department, public works, parks department. We had a DJ service. I mean, you have so many departments involved that nobody really ever thinks of. So it takes a village to put this kind of stuff on. So, and Environmental Advisory Board, check out our web pages because we are up and running. I just interviewed Brian Delman, Director of Utilities, about renewable resources and how to save money when it comes to electric. And so I'm in the process of editing that right now, and hopefully it'll be up fairly soon. It was a really good interview. I think with this series of videos, it's going to be a really good place for if somebody in the city has a question, a particular question, they'll be able to go and get their answer there. Because with Brian, that's going to be part one. Part two is going to be more about here's where our electric comes from, and this is what drives your bills. And it's more of a deeper dive, but real user friendly as to why things are the way they are. So we've got a good start on that. And that's about it.
Thank you. Anyone else? See nothing. On to the city manager's report. Greg.
Okay, thank you. Start out with just a photo from along Mariners Trail. Encourage you to get out there this summer. The 50-plus gardens tended by volunteers are doing well. They're getting plenty of rain because, believe me, as close by as that lake is, it's really hard to get down there and carry water back up to your gardens. So a little natural landscaping here with some of the wild roses along the lake. As some council members have already mentioned, this past week was really the kickoff of the summer season here in Two Rivers. Parks and Rec, as the organizer for Sunday, Thursday, did a wonderful job. Mother Nature shined on us last Thursday night. Thanks also to VT Industries and Rotary of Two Rivers as sponsors and suppliers of many of the citizen volunteers for the event. Honestly, I think it's as nice a Sunday, Thursday celebration as we've had in a long time. The weather was with us. Per usual, they ran out of ice cream sundaes, over 2,000 served. Your senior center supervisor in full regalia in a Holstein costume, people in great spirits, the municipal band, entertainment for kids. It was really that slice of Americana that is Two Rivers on Sunday, Thursday. So again, thanks to everybody involved in that. Likewise, this past weekend, we went from Sunday, Thursday, right into Beach Bash and the Cool City Classic Car Cruise and Show. Both of those events on Friday and Saturday downtown. From what I hear from both of them, and Adam Wahusky from Two Rivers Youth Sports and his capacity there gave me a brief update this weekend. Of course, both impacted by the threat of weather that did arrive at about 8:30 on Friday night. But Saturday was magnificent, although wicked hot for both events. But great crowds downtown, great crowds at the beach on through the evening for Beach Bash. So thank you to both of the sponsoring organizations, all of their volunteers, and as council members had mentioned, kudos to our various city departments, Parks and Rec, Public Works, the utilities, police and fire as a supporting cast for these community special events. We have a very effective partnership there between the city and all of these organizations. And that's how, as a small city, I think we're able to do so many great things and respect the role that our volunteers play as well. So kudos on all of those. In the personnel area, the interviews, I believe, have been conducted now for the full-time firefighter paramedic vacancy. The fire department's in ongoing recruitment for paid on premises paramedics. We have a full-time police officer vacancy with application deadline July 14. We're also advertising for the city planner, community development director position with, to assure consideration of your application, they need to be in by July 12. The library is also still looking for a part-time clerk. So lots of activity there, some great opportunities to serve the community. Roosevelt Avenue construction update. I should have put a picture here. It's a pile of dirt, trust me. It's a pile of dirt and a lot of equipment. The sanitary sewer is now completely installed for the length of the project. There's still some laterals being installed. Crews are going full out on water main, and it's hoped by the end of next week, the water main for the length of the project will be installed. And again, the sanitary and water service installations moving forward. Storm sewer is the shallowest part of the underground infrastructure, and that's going along as well, all along the project. So no nasty surprises there. Everything going pretty much according to plan. We just remind folks, here we are in the middle of Independence Day week, 4th of July on Thursday, traditional community celebration at Walsh Field, starting with some family activities and games at 5 o'clock, flag raising ceremony at 7:20. Tours Community Band takes the stage at 7:25, sponsor recognition at 8:30. Some more entertainment from 8:50 until about 9:30 when it gets dark enough for fireworks. Right now, the weather forecast is looking pretty good for not only the day, but into the evening on July 4. In the unlikely event of rain, the rain date is Friday, July 5. And God forbid, if it rains on Friday, July 5, we'll have one heck of a fireworks display next year. Because you remember a few years ago when the fireworks kind of hopped and skipped across the calendar from rainy day to rainy day. I think we might have held them on Labor Day at the end of it. No, it's the 4th or the 5th, or forever hold your peace, at least until next year. But look forward to seeing folks July 4th at Walsh Field. The most in-your-face, amazing, community-supported, totally community-sponsored fireworks show in Wisconsin. Not fireworks, but our downtown was bombed just a little over a week ago by the Yarn Bombers. This is the second annual occasion where local yarn artists are displaying their artwork in the downtown. 18 creations on display this year on downtown light poles. Some of them have been carefully stored away from last year. You might see some familiar ones out there. Also some amazing new artwork, including the mermaid that's in second from the right up here. Not picking that one out in particular. They're all amazing. Special thanks there to Crescent Woolen Mills, who as a producer of specialty yarns, helped get this started last year as Crescent celebrated their 100th anniversary. Kathy from over at Crescent Woolen Mills has been a great quarterback for this whole project. Also, Intertwined Yarn Shop in the Schrader's Marketplace plays a huge role because that's where all the knitting mavens of the community, I don't know if that's the right term or not, but gather and get their supplies and take leadership from over at Intertwined. Also, thanks to the electric utility staff who doesn't say, get that stuff off our poles, but in fact goes out, embraces this community involvement, and helps with the installation of this artwork, which will be up for most of the summer. So again, thank you to the Yarn Bombers making downtown beautiful. Mike, you want to share a bit about this with the Braille Learning Table over at Neshota Park? Just another cool kind of spontaneous thing that happened in our parks.
Yeah, we had a unique opportunity come up that my father-in-law's college roommate has a grandson with a kind of a rare disease called Nori disease. He was born blind. And so to help spread awareness about the disease and blindness in general, he's started making these Braille picnic tables in parks. So if this one, you go see it, it's right next to the Neshota Park Playground. And the whole alphabet is spelled out in Braille. And then there is a secret phrase in the middle of the table as well that you can go solve. So I can't give you the answer to that one yet. But yeah, he knocked out in just about a half a day, and it looks really cool. So yeah, check it out if you have some time.
Even if you don't have small children in your family, if you haven't this spring, summer gone over to the Neshota Playground, just do it. It'll lift your spirits. Just like seeing the splash pad in action. We're seeing the results of this community investing in some facilities for the children to enjoy, and it's great. Thank you for sharing that, Mike. Library summer reading program is underway. Adventure Begins at Your Library is the theme of this year's program, and not too late to join in the activities, I expect. So again, it's especially for kids in school that sometimes that summer vacation gets long, to continue reading activity through the summer, hugely beneficial. Thank you, Leicester Library. Would remind you, a major DOT project west of town, basically from Columbus Street on out to County Highway P, beyond I-43, resurfacing of 310, and I guess it becomes 10 at the interstate, inclusive of resurfacing and some drainage improvements at the 3 roundabouts. So there'll be some one-way traffic flows during the resurfacing. There will be a 2-week period, we're told, after Labor Day, thank goodness, when for 2 weeks, all 3 of the roundabouts will be shut down for major work. So stay tuned for whatever the DOT release and detouring map look like for that one. But very nice infrastructure investment in this vital link west to I-43 and to the valley. I think about a $4 million DOT project. Upcoming event also out at the Nature Center at Point Beach State Forest. Greg Lutz from the Wisconsin Maritime Museum will be talking about shipwrecks around the Raleigh Point area, including the Christmas tree ship Rouse Simmons, the steamer Vernon, and the Major Anderson. As is noted, items from those wrecks are still washing up at Point Beach after 140 years. You can check out the new Shipwrecks of Raleigh Point exhibit out at the Nature Center at the State Forest. The event is free, but a vehicle sticker is required unless you walk a long ways, like from by Molesh Creek. I guess you could walk it. But an admission sticker is required to enter the State Forest for this program. The Friends group out at the State Forest is doing amazing things. They're very much reactivated with strong leadership by a good board. They're engaging with the Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary, really adding a lot to the experience for visitors out at the State Forest. There is a vintage boat show. The Great Glacier Lakes chapter of the Antique and Classic Boat Society is doing a classic boat show over at Paddlers Park this coming Saturday, July 6th, and that's from noon to 4. So check it out. Bands on the Beach, first one this coming Sunday, July 7th, 2 to 6 p.m. at Neshota Beach. Stephen Cooper and the Nobody Famous Band, 9-piece with horns and, as it notes, a smoke and rhythm section. Great fun concerts down at the beach at Rotary Pavilion. So I think there probably are even some libations being sold by Rotary for that event. So get down there, check it out. Kids Night, Chalk It Up over at Koenig School next week, Tuesday, July 9, 6 to 7:30. Chalk, art, games, basketball prizes, hot dog, soda, and chips available for purchase. So, Washington Park. Okay, very good. Go over to Koenig. It seems a little quiet. Go over to Washington Park. Thank you. Concerts in the park. Next week, Thursday, July 11, the Aaron Krebs Jazz Quartet, 6 to 8 p.m. There's a ton of live music opportunities this summer in Two Rivers. The Thursday night concerts, Friday night Central Park, downtown live Friday nights in Central Park, and of course various concerts at the beach at Rotary Pavilion. So Aaron Krebs Jazz Quartet next Thursday in Central Park West. Back at Neshota, the Latino American Beach Festival, July 12th to the 13th from noon to 11 p.m. on both days. You could gain weight just by walking through there and breathing the food, and the food tastes even better than it smells. And all sorts of dance and competitive events and music, all with a Latin beat. So down at Neshota Beach. And the summer July is just amazing. Would remind everybody, blues legend Brian Lee, born and raised in Two Rivers, spent most of his adult life in New Orleans. Saturday, July 13th, organized by Two Rivers Main Street with very generous sponsorships from throughout the area. The Brian Lee Blues Fest from, 1 p.m. to about 9 p.m. The lineup noted there, the Incorruptibles, Brian Lee Express, wrapping things up with Reverend Raven and the Chain Smoking Altar Boys at 7 p.m. That's another of these events where you just pinch yourself and say, oh my goodness, I'm in downtown Two Rivers. And it's much better than pinching the person next to you, I might add. Back to Bands on the Beach, Sunday, July 14, Panchromatic Steel down at Neshota. I'm going to call Mike up for this one again because this is somewhat of institution was born March 16, 1943 in the city of Two Rivers, Wisconsin, and passed away at the age of 77 on August 21, 2020 in Sarasota, Florida. And whereas Brian Lee made the world a better place by dedicating his life to and sharing his God-given musical talent and love of early rock and blues, living by the creed that, quote, a gift is not a gift unless you share it, end quote. And whereas Brian Lee began performing professionally at the age of 13 in his hometown of Two Rivers and continued playing all over the world, touring in the Midwest, Eastern Seaboard, Rocky Mountain states, Canada, Europe, and Brazil until the year 2020. And whereas Brian Lee recorded 18 albums over 4 decades, bookended by 1979's Beauty Isn't Always Visual and 2018's Sanctuary, appearing on various labels that included Just in Time, Severin Records, and Irrelevant Records. And whereas Brian Lee's achievements included a 2011 Grammy nomination with Kenny Wayne Shepherd, 2008 German Critics Award for Outstanding Blues for Katrina Was Her Name, 2011 BMA Blues Rock Album of the Year, 2015 Big City Rhythm and Blues Lifetime Achievement Award, 2016 Legendary Blues Artist, Blues Hall of Fame, 2016 Legendary Blues Artist by the Florida Blues Hall of Fame, 2017 Whammy Lifetime Achievement Awards, that's the Wisconsin Music Industry Association, 2018 Phoenix Radio Lifetime Achievement Award, and numerous Blues Societies awards. And whereas Brian Lee was a remarkable soul who greeted each day with gratitude, optimism, and humble joy for all of his blessings and gave immeasurable musical enjoyment to his legion of World War fans, now therefore be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Two Rivers declares July 13, 2024, the date of the 4th annual Brian Lee Memorial Blues Festival as Brian Lee Day in the City of Two Rivers, and urges all citizens and visitors to join in the full slate of activities planned for that day to celebrate the gifts of this talented son of Two Rivers as his music continues to enrich the soundtrack of our lives. Dated this first day of July, 2024.
Thank you. Looking for a motion. Thank you, Darla. Second by Bill. Any discussion? Seeing nothing, this will be a roll call vote. Lisa?
Douglas Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Patry,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Stecklisser,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
all in favor.
Thank you for that. On to B, resolution addressing ad hoc community aquatics committee report and setting conditions for possible placement of a ballot issue pertaining to city tax levy support for community pool operations on the spring 2025 ballot. The recommended action will be a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution. Greg?
Just in brief summary, not reading the resolution, but of course, last year, the board of directors of the private not-for-profit Two Rivers Family Swim Center did announce that the pool would not be reopening this summer. So this is the first summer in about 60 years that that privately funded community pool has not been available here in the community. The city council did earlier this year, March, approve appointments to an ad hoc aquatics committee to work with park and recreation staff and gather information to help address several questions that were identified in a council resolution. What is the likely capital cost of a community pool? What's the likely annual operating cost? To what extent might you expect it to be self-supporting from membership fees and other revenue raising? What are the options for optimizing use of other existing facilities like the high school pool, the YMCA pool, and the Manitowoc Aquatics Center? Those are some of the things that were investigated by the committee and included in a report that came back to City Council at the June work session. The committee's recommendations do include pursuing a community pool with the understanding that the funding would be from private sources, possible city role in pursuing grants, but that it not be a taxpayer-funded capital investment of probably $4 to $6 million or more based on very preliminary numbers. It was acknowledged by the ad hoc committee, and I should mention, we greatly appreciate the 10 citizens that agreed to serve on that committee. It was their recommendation that more information is needed, more specific information that could only come with a professional feasibility study to look further into some of those very questions that I addressed earlier. It is stated in their report that the intent would be that be privately funded through either an existing or a to-be-created 501c3 community not-for-profit organization. It's also recommended that the council consider, if that study is done and if it points to likely feasibility of a project, still contingent on a whole lot of fundraising for capital, that the city council consider placing on the April 2025 spring election ballot a question to the voters of Two Rivers as to whether they would be willing to support the city exceeding its statutory levy cap for operations to fund the annual operating subsidy that would likely be required for a pool. Virtually every public municipal pool, certainly in the state, probably the country, requires some manner of taxpayer subsidy to work. And the estimate you saw in this preliminary report from the committee was on the order of $80,000 to $100,000 a year. In Wisconsin, cities operate under levy limits set by the state. We are operating at or within a couple $1,000s of our levy limit right now for operations. The only way that could be exceeded would be either be to magically find $80,000 to $100,000 in the budget, which I don't think most of us see as feasible, or specifically obtain the authorization of the voters. So that is what this resolution addresses. I did take the liberty of inserting some deadlines because if this council is going to consider asking the voters on the April ballot if they'd be willing to help subsidize the operation of a pool, you need information on which to base those decisions. So if you go to the second page, the second "be it further resolved" paragraph, it does talk about in order for the council to consider placing such a measure on the spring 2025 ballot, the scope of services for the feasibility study must be agreed upon by July 31st, and that would include the concurrence of this council. And a consultant must be selected and under contract by August 31st in order that a study, and this is a tight time frame, might be completed and presented to the council not later than October 15 of this year. And this does state that otherwise the target date for such ballot measure must be postponed to a later date. I did include in your packets a Department of Revenue fact sheet on exceeding levy limits. And again, this isn't meant to be the council saying the community should approve exceeding the levy limits. It's simply acknowledging the proposition that's been put forward through the ad hoc committee, and I think previously through the swim club board, that if a community group took charge and was able to successfully fundraise for a new public pool, would the city be willing to be responsible for operation and maintenance of that pool going forward? Well, one pretty important question along the way is, where are you going to get the money for that, and would the community support it? So that's why this is presented in the way it is. I think I've pretty well covered it. I know some of you were interested in reviewing again the PowerPoint that was presented last week, so that got distributed over the weekend. Certainly, if there are other questions, feel free to direct them to Mike, our Parks and Rec Director, who, along with his staff, provided the staff support for the committee. Over to you, Council.
Okay. We're looking for a motion to waive the reading and adopt the resolution. Thank you, Bonnie. Second by Tim. Any discussion?
I just would like to point out that the study for this is being paid by the Friends of the, what are they called? Friends of the Pool? I'm sorry, I don't remember what they're called.
I don't know that we know what the entity is even at this point, other than
Well, I mean,
Friends of the Pool.
I just want the people out there to know that.
Right,
That
this-
because there's a group of people very interested in this pool, and they're very willing to help to raise money for it. And it's just, we're just voting to put it on the ballot. This is correct, isn't it?
Correct, if certain conditions are met, to
Yes,
put it on the
okay.
ballot for a decision by the people.
Okay.
Anything else?
Organization, the 501c, does it even exist yet? Okay.
Have their work cut out for them for end of July.
I dare say if they want to be funding $30,000 to $40,000 for a feasibility study, they may well be out at least doing preliminary soliciting before they have their official 501c3 status.
Sense, yeah.
There is a board meeting upcoming of the Swim Center Board. One of their members contacted me on Friday, I think it was. I think Mike was contacted too, suggesting the council might table this until they had another meeting. Frankly, I think it's appropriate that people know where the council stands on this, and not that any of these points couldn't be revisited, but I think this is entirely consistent with the presentation you had last Monday. If we hear anything new, I'd be glad to bring it back to you at the next meeting, but time's a wasting if we're serious about the April ballot.
I did want to read something. Adam did send me. So he said for a swim center referendum, he's strongly in favor of allowing the voters to vote on this in spring. Ultimately, it's their taxes that are affected for a quality of life item for a lot of communities our size and smaller do offer. We have focused on attracting young families, and this is an important piece of that. Mike, staff, and committee really put a lot of work into it and looked at many options. Our residents can't make that decision. So pretty much how you summed it up. We'll leave it up to the people at Rivers to make that decision.
I do have a question. As far as the scope of services for the consultant, are we agreeing on that, or is the ad hoc committee agreeing on that? Who's setting that scope?
I think that'll probably be a cooperative effort of the ad hoc committee and whatever the private not-for-profit might be. But I would envision that ultimately coming back pretty quickly because of the timeline to this council to at least indicate concurrence with that scope of services.
So we can assume it's going to address sizing and
Sizing, pro forma operating budget, looking at both likely revenues and expenses.
Greg and I discussed this point, and I think where we both felt we'd fall in a good spot was having some flexibility for them with the short timeline, but we would kind of know it when we see it and what gets provided to us and suggested in terms of the scope of that feasibility study. But yeah, the overall site assessment for the current pool site, if that fell through, then yes, looking at other sites, even just the scale of the pool, we may find that Two Rivers is bigger than what the current pool could even handle if it was a good, nice pool. So yeah, there's a lot of pieces to figuring out that.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, seeing nothing, this will be a roll call vote. Lisa?
Tim Patry,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Stigmus,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
all in favor.
Thank you for that. On to C, Riverside Park Master Plan. The recommended action is a motion to adopt the plan as recommended by the Advisory Recreation Board.
Mike, you want to
Greg or Mike?
introduce the
We went into it pretty in depth at the last work session, but yeah, we've got a fairly concise plan. It's not as robust as what we have done for Nashotah Park, but hopefully it's reflective of a lot of interest from the community that contribute to the survey responses and Advisory Recreation Board. So yeah, if you have any other questions about it, I'm happy to answer. We're still pending one small piece of it, and that Parkitecture is going to give us cost estimates for the high-level cost estimates of the project so that we can use those as we go into budgeting for grant season and things like that. So.
Any
If I
questions for
could,
Mike?
I know, Mr. Robitaille's earlier comment about where do various parks fit in the context of an overall park, and that's the old plan, park and open space plan, or comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, CORP. We have an existing park and open space plan. Frankly, it's pretty broad brush from about 3 or 4 years ago. The advisory rec board has devoted quite a bit of time to, and Mike has devoted even more time to updating that. That will be coming for public comment probably in the next month or so. Sometimes these things don't all flow together. There was a major Neshota Park master plan developed last year with considerable public input. This plan for Riverside, but both those parks and our others will be addressed in the context of the Corp as
Yeah,
well.
The core Parks and Open Space Plan, whatever you want to call it, that plan actually gets submitted to Wisconsin DNR to be approved by them so that we can have that on file for our grants, anything we would apply to them for. And so I'm hoping to get a response soon from DNR and our regional person on that to give me feedback on that plan before I bring it to all of you. And then I'd be stuck making changes or something if DNR didn't like what we had. It is way more comprehensive than the last one, so I hope we're in good shape in terms of that for DNR. But yeah, that was also approved by, recommended for adoption by the advisory rec board, but I know that one we'd like, since it's a much bigger plan, we would want to have a public open comment period or some sort of feedback before it comes to council. So
This is still gonna be kind of a open plan. It can get changed pretty easy depending upon the feelings of the council or the feelings of the public.
yeah, I think so. It's like Neshota Parks master plan. It's not set in stone. It's nothing we are forced to do or obligated to do. And we can make updates at any time with DNR. So we might have one on file, but we can change that and resubmit to them whenever we want to, actually.
You're saying the DNR has to okay the whole plan? or
The
just-
whole Parks and Open Space Plan, yes,
Because of the grants.
because of grants. Correct.
It's a major on-ramp to be eligible for stewardship funding or other DNR park funding. If it ain't in the plan and if it's not articulated properly in the plan, you're not gonna get funding.
Is this something that's different? Mr. Robitaille did have some good points.
Oh, yes.
Before they put the skate park in the first time, they notified people in the neighborhood. The city met with them. We met in the shelter. And so you could get your answers. My biggest concern was the noise. It is noisy. I figured that's why they put it on the south side. But anyway, as long as this can be, it's really hard to make decisions when you give us such a big amount of information and then we got a week to think about it. Does that make sense to you? I wish we could go over this I don't want to say couple, maybe 4 months or 5, just to have you present what's going on at a work session, not in length like you did before, but just to remind us of things. See, I like to see the arguments, because even with the pool thing, I would have liked to have seen what you guys were considering, like the pros and cons of stuff.
Yeah, you're welcome to come to advisory rec board meetings.
No,
Go
I know,
pretty in
but-
depth at those. So yeah, we could probably start making more updates, I guess. So
It's the council's call. If you wish to put a pause on the Riverside Park plan to specifically provide for more public input, that's your option.
It
It is kind of a balancing act. I look
I
at
know.
and I'm going more to the Neshota Park master plan. You have 2 council members that sit on the ARB.
I know.
That one went on for months and the council periodically got updates. Yeah.
Well, it's just that it's such an amount of information, and I hope that before a step is taken, you'll at least inform us and say, here's the first step
Sure,
that
yeah.
we'd like to do.
I'll tell you that right now I'm prepping for coastal management grants in November to submit to DNR for the river improvement section of this. And that was kind of the hope for stuff. And maybe going into budget season for the city is probably working on the restroom pieces. I would say skate park updates are years away. So there'll be plenty of time, hopefully, for more feedback on what that skate park would actually look like, how it would function, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that would be kind of the very, very high level steps for the next part for Riverside.
I'm not sure.
Just paddle sports,
This one.
paddle sports, kayaks, canoes.
Oh, okay. I guess I don't vote. All right.
I'd just like to note that a concrete park is many, many times quieter than a metal ramp park that's currently there. I mean, a concrete park will be quite a bit quieter. You can't control the kids and the music, but the skateboards themselves will be a lot quieter.
Have a lot more security than we do now, I would imagine.
That was major points in the Riverside plan of trying to improve lighting, cameras, sight lines. That's part of the reason why we're moving the skate park towards the front of the park, because it's so far in the back of the park right now. It's a balancing act, how close to the busier road you come, all those different types of things. So, and we didn't want to drastically rearrange the park because we were trying to keep it affordable, and that the restroom facilities stayed where the utilities are very, very close.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the other thing. I would like to see the word shelter painted out of that park,
Okay,
because until you actually put a shelter there,
technically there is a small concrete pad
the-
shelter there.
the bathrooms don't work.
Okay, yeah, we could,
Anyway,
sure, no, that's a good point.
Yes, Darla, sorry.
That's okay. I mean, Bonnie brought up a good point that we should maybe hear about what's going on in Parks and Rec more often. And I've been thinking about this. I mean, we have boards and committees that we never hear from, and I'm just wondering if we start hearing more from representatives on all of them, that we'll kind of get that information to the city council. So I would like to see more people giving us updates as to what's happening on their committees.
Right. Okay, any other questions for Mike? I am looking for a motion of some sort, whatever you guys want to do. Yes, Tim? Adopt the plan as recommended by Advisory Rec Board. Okay, thank you, Tim. Looking for a second? Thank you, Doug. Any discussion amongst council? I think we asked all our questions to Mike already, but Adam did have a comment about this one. I'll just read it real quick. This has been talked about at length with a lot of community input. I feel the design is outstanding by creating walkable space, also redoing the skate park and bringing it out of the back and more forward creates a more welcoming park for all. Opening restrooms that are centrally located as they are now is the best fit. Also expanded play equipment and kayak launch are nice additions. The proposed athletics field is perfect for the neighborhood that don't currently have any sort of athletic field. And the spot at the front of the park is perfect for viewing, playing, accessible to sidewalk and roads, and bringing the park all together. So that's just what Adam had to say. Anyone else? Yes.
Another point about the apartment complex that's going up a couple blocks away, so that would be really nice to have an updated park for them.
Someone did make a.
Comment.
Yeah, go Mark.
I'm in favor of the plan. I think it's well thought out and has lots of attributes that we need for the area and that neighborhood. But if there are any major changes with the state in our quest to get grants, we will have another chance then to approve the final cost of the park with the state changes modified, right?
Yes, any matches that we'd have, I think that's what you're referring to, Mark, is any matches that would have to be made for those grants, of course, would be approved through the budget process. So we will probably be trying to bug you early on that we are putting in grant applications yet this year, but we can also usually end up changing those agreements later on with DNR as well. So there is definitely still flexibility in that, of course.
Anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to make a note that this is not the final plan in any way, right? I mean, like, you got to look at topography and everything else. It's kind of like Central Park West went through iterations. So I just want to make that clear, right?
Yeah, these aren't architectural drawings, right? Like in-depth architecturally engineered drawings, right? These are very high-level conceptual. That's why we went so simple on writing the plan, and I think I wrote, 7 or 8 priorities. These are very well supported from the survey, from community feedback, from ARB, that those were the priorities: restrooms, a nice waterfront to walk on, a playground, and keep the skate park. Was pretty resounding. It needs to be clean. It needs to be safe. Those kind of core park things shown through. So yes, very high level right now. We've got a lot of creativity to kind of make our way through that, which is great for us. And then we get some flexibility through the whole process.
Anything else? Seeing nothing, this will be a roll call vote. Lisa?
Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Patry.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you all for that. Nice discussion. On to D, City Manager's recommended appointment to Committee on Aging, Ruth Cotto, to fill the unexpired balance of Lenora McDonald, citizen member, term to May 1st, 2025. The recommended action will be a motion to approve the appointment as recommended by the City Manager. Over to you.
That's
Pretty simple,
basically it. Ms. Cotto's name was forthcoming from staff and Committee on Aging members. And we thank Ms. McDonough for her service. This is for a little less than a year to fill the balance of the term. Of course, Ms. Cotto, if interested, would be eligible for reappointment next year.
Sounds good. Looking for a motion to approve the appointment. Thank you, Bill. Second by,
I'll second that.
thank you, Shannon. Any discussion?
Greg, would you tell the community again how if they're interested in being on a committee, what they should do and how the whole thing works?
I'll contact the city manager's office. We consider applications for vacancies on our boards and committees. It's my job to present those recommendations to city council, with the exception of police and fire commission, which by statute are city manager appointments. So contact the city manager's office. In all honesty, Lisa, I'm not sure if we have the volunteer application form out on the website. It is on the city's website as well. So you could do a search for it. I would have to do a search for it out there because I'm not sure exactly where it is, but it's a fillable PDF. That I know.
Okay, Mark?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote. So all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. On to E, update on use of county shared American Rescue Plan funds for lead water service replacement. Recommended action is informational only at this time, may require action on project funding or financing structure. Greg or
Yes,
Matt? I see Matt's up.
Matt
already,
will come
but-
forward. Basically, at the first meeting in June, the council approved a contract for replacement of lead water service laterals, the so-called scattered lateral locations, for anticipating a total of 300 lateral replacements, 100 approximately public side only, because it's copper for the rest of the way in, 200 both public and private side. So there are 200 private sides in that contract. We do have some updated information because we can't fund it quite the way we presented at that meeting back in early June in terms of the use of both the DNR private lateral money is deployed, and the county has given us some feedback on their participation with their matching ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act funds. Matt updated the Utilities Committee at their meeting tonight, and this is going to require some subsequent council action to address the final financing package for that private side issue.
Excuse me.
Over to you.
So yeah, in short, recently, as of early last week, we had a conversation with Manitowoc County, and they are not comfortable, quote unquote, commingling American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds, and Safe Drinking Water funds for the same items. We were particularly looking at utilizing ARPA funds as part of the $2,500 grant credit offset cost to the private side water services, as well as using the Safe Drinking Water funds. And again, the county isn't comfortable in doing that. So in short, they have told us they would only fund the public side water services, leaving us trying to figure out how to now come up with dollars for that $2,500 grant that we have told individuals we're going to fund. Funding of the water services can be made 100% by utilizing the Safe Drinking Water funds and that loan process that we've talked about previously. However, the principal forgiveness that we would be getting for this area is only 25%. So it only comes up with a fraction of that $2,500. So some of the options we are looking at and waiting for concurrence from bond counsel, auditors, and the DNR themselves is whether or not we may be able to use tax levy dollars and assist in covering that portion of the $2,500 that would not be covered by Safe Drinking Water funds. So that is one option that we are looking at and strongly considering so we can move the project forward.
That would mean repaying that private side loan at 0.25% with levy dollars. Why not utility dollars? Well, if you want to repay it with utility dollars, you need to do a rate filing with the PSC and get their approval. I think generally the consensus has been to steer clear of that. Our water rates are high enough as is. The thing that's really tricky here is depending on the neighborhood or the census tract you're doing work in, there are varying percentages of principal forgiveness. Historically, the last 5-6 years, we've been seeing enough principal forgiveness to cover $2,500 per customer as a grant, or as a, if you will, a write-off of that cost on the private lateral. As council's aware from Matt's presentation back in June, for the area that we're looking at this year, it doesn't qualify for any principal forgiveness. Probably stealing some of his thunder, but an application being filed just today, which would make our next scattered site area on the east side, it looks like that area would qualify for 100% principal forgiveness. If we revisit the south side next year, the year after, so in 2026, a lot of that area would qualify based on census tract income information for 75%. So if the council is interested in continuing to do the $2,500 grants, not sitting here saying that it would all have to be borrowing paid off by levy, but we're looking at a bit of a pinch this year for those locations that have been identified. Next couple years, the programs are in place at least till 2027 through DNR. That looks like there are opportunities for some pretty hefty principal forgiveness. The problem is going forward, there's still a lot more lead laterals out there. There's another 1,500 after the contract that you recently approved is completed. And our crystal ball isn't that good. You've even heard some national discussion on that. There's not enough money out there, federally at least, to get the job done. So we're trying to optimize what's out there, but this one kind of threw us a curve.
Early last week, and I don't want to say we're scrambling, but we're looking at alternatives, and we're not quite ready to present a formal process of how we're going to ultimately pay back, or if we want to present other options rather than that $2,500 credit. There's options there, but just giving you a heads up that we had a hiccup and we're dealing with it and trying to move forward.
I thought that they would give us the money, but we had to match it. Isn't that correct?
As far as our ARPA funds, we actually have to spend our ARPA funds and they would match the items. So dollar
Oh,
for
you mean
dollar.
it would be like we spent it and they'd pay us back? I
As
mean,
far as the
that's how
ARPA
they're
fund-
looking at it.
As far as the ARPA funds go, yes.
All
As
right.
far as the safe drinking water, we will get the whole entire dollar amount per service. And part of that was going to be a match. Anything over and above that $2,500 grant, the property owner would have to repay. So it gets confusing.
Oh, I know.
But we will try and lay out a plan moving forward, hopefully by next council meeting.
This is a matter that we'll be back in front of the Utilities Committee. And like Matt said, if nothing, either at minimum an update, ideally an action plan that is presented for your action on the 15th. So, but we did want to alert you that we got an issue there.
Can't postpone until next year then, right? Because we still got to spend some of that
We have
funds
to,
this year.
well, we've quote unquote encumbered the ARPA funds. Now we have to spend
Spend 'em.
the ARPA funds.
Okay. Other questions for Matt? Nothing else?
Stay tuned. Stay tuned on that issue.
Okay. Let's see, on to number 11 for information only. Do you have that one?
Yeah, nothing real amazing, but the next regular meeting, of course, in 2 weeks on July 15. Council work session, our typical practice in 5 Monday months, and this is a month with 5 Mondays, has been to go to the 5th Monday, so that would be July 29, unless that date is a problem for council members, so we could back it off to the 22nd. But as it stands right now, it looks like Monday the 22nd might actually be a free Monday night for you. So that's the extent of our reminders. And indeed, we don't need a closed session. That remained on the agenda as a placeholder. We do not need a closed session tonight.
Okay. Then we're just looking for a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Tim. Second
I'll
by
second it.
Bill. Any discussion? Seeing none, this will be voice votes. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you and good night.